Good day, legends. TJC Sports here as always. Welcome back to another legendary NRL video. Today we're going to be doing one of the most anticipated parts of the NRL offseason. That's right, it is my NRL 2024 ladder predictions. Been thinking about this for a while, and I am so stoked to finally be able to show you, legends, exactly where I think your team will finish in 2024. Find out together with me. Have I learnt my lesson from last season where I only got 1 out of 17? Or is history doomed to repeat itself? I guess we'll find out around September, legends. For those who are new to these kind of videos, essentially what we're going to do is be predicting where every NRL team is going to finish in 2024 on the ladder from 17th to 1st, as well as throwing in a premiership winner. Be sure to keep in mind that these are just my own opinions at the end of the day and not fact, as I say with almost every single video, so feel free to let me know your ladder predictions in the comments down below. I genuinely try to hold no bias in this, and these are my own thoughts. I will go in depth and explain each specific prediction. Anyways, legends, with all of that out of the way, let's get on with this. This is my NRL 2024 ladder predictions, starting off with 17th place. In 17th, I have, once again, like I did last year, the St. George Illawarra Dragons. Now, I really did not want to put them here, especially with the unpredictability of them having a new coach in Shane Flanagan, who was absolutely brilliant in his last time coaching a team with the Cronulla Sharks, where obviously he won their first ever premiership. But no matter what I do, every time I think of who's getting the spoon this year, my thoughts always go back to them. And just like with last year, I could be making a mistake putting them in last place. But with all the injuries they've had already in this preseason, as well as all of the off-field issues, plus the uncertainty, it's really tough for me to see them getting much higher, especially with how almost every other NRL team, I can see that just little bit more improvement. So, yeah, Dragons in 17th. Feel free to prove me wrong, legends. You know, it's down to opinion, but based on the poll I ran as well, you guys seem to agree with me on this one. So, yeah, with all of that in mind, Dragons 17th. Not much more to say. Now, on to who I have in 16th. Surprise, surprise, legends. I'm sure you all saw this coming. In 16th, I have the West Tigers. That's right, I don't think they're going to be getting the three-peat wooden spoon, even though I definitely could still see it happening. I've got a lot more confidence than I did last year in them, alright? Well, actually, no, I put them way too high last year, but forget about that. I genuinely think I've got them in about the right place here. Maybe they'll surprise me. But especially with the trade-off of Blore going to the Storm, we'll get into that later when we get to where Melbourne is in my predictions, and obviously Justin Olam coming to the Tigers. I think they've added well to their team. Obviously got Luai coming next season, not the upcoming one, but the one after. Hopefully he can add something, and maybe even the knowledge of him coming will motivate them a little. Obviously they've now also got Benji Marshall as coach, absolute legend for the club. If you do not know this, you've probably been living under a rock. Genuinely could not tell you how excited I am to see what Benji could potentially get out of this team. He's everything that I think the Tigers need right now. I like all the decisions they've been making pretty much since he got there. And overall, the morale's just a lot higher than I think it is at the Dragons. So that is why I just had to put them above the Wooden Spooners. Maybe it won't work out. Maybe they'll finish one place above or one place below. But I have a feeling they're going to be in that bottom four, but not last place. That's my overall prediction here. And yes, I know it'll be tough without what we all know is one of the best halfbacks ever, the GOAT Luke Brooks. But I'm sure they will manage with Aiden Caesar. But anyways, good luck to any surviving West Tigers fans. I think it's time that we go on to 15th. I think you guys are going to be quite surprised by this one potentially. In 15th, the bad and mean Green Machines, and I'm emphasizing the bad in this upcoming season, it is the Canberra Raiders. This prediction is a funny one, right? Because Everyone's predicting Raiders to drop out of the 8. Whether you have them mid-table or lower, where I have them, is a bit varied, but we all overall have them dropping out of the 8. The thing is, though, a team like Raiders, how often do we underestimate them? Because I feel like it happens a lot with this side. I could be doing that right now, but I don't think I am at this moment. Watch me look like an idiot at the end of the season when this team somehow ends up in the top 4 or something. But I think that the Canberra Raiders, well, yes, they will probably have a good game or two this year. I don't think they're going to be able to keep up in those close, tight games anymore with the losses of Jack Whiten and obviously retired legend Jared Croker. I think that those are some big losses that will be felt throughout the squad, and I think it will heavily impact them. Well, yes, I have no doubt Ricky Stewart will try to motivate them. I can't move past thinking they'll finish lower and almost definitely drop outside the 8. Because, yeah, this may just be my own opinion, but the team just doesn't look anywhere near as good without, in particular, Jack Whiten, and I just don't see them doing too incredible this season. Maybe I'm wrong, though. I'm extremely confident they won't get the spoon, but I just think with how competitive this season's going to be, they're probably going to finish in those lower areas. No disrespect intended on any Raiders fans, but legends, unfortunately, this is just how I think it'll go down. But we're going to have to wait and see. Maybe I'm wrong. Also, their points difference last season doesn't do them any favours for my prediction. Anyways, legends, I think that's pretty much all I can say. So let me just show you who I have in 14th. And I wish I could put this team lower. Yep, it is the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. Now, obviously, as an Eels supporter, if it was up to personal bias, this team would be in the bottom 2. But even I've got to be honest here. The Bulldogs, well, yes, it's been pretty much all utilities, have recruited some okay players. Alright, and yes, Raiders could easily make the argument that they should be above the Dogs based on how long the Dogs have proven to need time to gel. But that's also why the Dogs are in the bottom 4 in this predicted ladder, alright? I think they're going to take half the season at least to gel properly, like they did the year before and the year before that. And even then you can argue that they didn't really gel either of those times. While I think that they've recruited well, I also think that they've still got a long ways to go. And with how long I think it'll take to gel, I just can't put them much higher than 14th, I don't think. Look, I think I might even be stretching it there, but they surely improve, right, with the players they've signed, and that's why I've put them where I have. We'll see how it goes. I'm not complaining if they finish lower. Doggies fans are probably already waiting to save this video just to come back and taunt me later. But even so, I'm locking in my answer and my prediction for the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs to finish 14th. What a team to follow it up. In 13th place, I have my least favourite team, the Manly Warringah Seagulls. Now, 13th, it's an odd position because it's kind of one where it actually is such a close comp. I could seriously see it being a team that gets close to making finals. Even if, yeah, technically they're a team that's only just missing the bottom 4. Unlike the previous 4 teams, I could easily see this team making the 8, but I don't think it's going to happen. Yes, I like some of their signings. I think Luke Brooks, this move to Manly is just what he needs, and I think with Daly Cherry Evans sitting right in front of him in that halves combination, I think he'll be fine. Unfortunately, despite that, one thing that took them down a peg in particular for me is my lack of trust in not only their coach. I'm not a big Seabold fan, but also I don't know if Tommy Turbo's going to be fit for very long. Like, yes, he had a great 2021, but that was about 3 years ago, legends, which is just insane to think about. But hey, maybe 2024 is the year that just everything clicks. In 12th, we have the Gold Coast Titans. Will the Desi Hasler effect work out, or will it be their downfall? For me, I think it'll be pretty positive for them. This is very much, in my eyes, a building year. Yes, I think that the Titans definitely will challenge at one point for finals, but I don't think that they'll get there just about. It's not that I don't rate the Titans, not at all. I do highly rate them, but when you're in that phase they're in with a new coach, it's so unpredictable, alright? Like, yes, it could turn out great, but it could turn out poor. For me, I'm thinking it'll turn out alright. I think that there'll certainly be improvement, but they'll have stuff to work on that obviously will keep them just out of sight of making finals. Still going to be a decent season despite that, though. I think this will be a lot better than even last year for them. The Titans, I think they're actually climbing up a bit, in my opinion. I think their team is so close to being where it needs to be a top 8 side frequently. And I think they might even be there, and I wouldn't be shocked if they surprised me. Especially with what he can get out of some players, Desi. Like, I think Jaden Campbell's in for an absolute breakout. However, with the teams above, I just think they're a little more complete for now, and I trust them a little more. Even with all of that in mind, though, I welcome a surprise, and I know the Titans can do that one better, so feel free to prove me wrong this season. In 11th, I have the Dolphins. Bouncing off their first ever NRL season and splashing into their second, I am really excited to see how the Dolphins do. They've recruited well, signing the likes of Jake Avrilla, who I think is an underrated signing, if anything, based on how little I've heard of him compared to Herbie Farnworth and Thomas Flegler being signed as well. This team, guys, I think they've added just what they needed. Players that aren't too young or too old, and add a bit more of a kind of kick to their pack. Especially under the legendary guidance of the great Wayne Bennett. If the players from last season can prove that it wasn't a one-season thing and be just as good as they were, with, on top of that, the new guys coming in, I'm very confident the Dolphins can put a real chase in for the 8, but we'll have to wait and see. In 10th, this one could be considered controversial. I have the Cronulla Sharks. Alright, we're at that point in the video where some picks are going to shock you, so I need to explain this one. The Cronulla Sharks, yes, they've got what on paper should be an easier draw, but what I'm looking at that's putting them in 10th place is two things. Firstly, their record against top 8 teams. Look at that over the last few times they've made it, and it's not great. Secondly, just look at how much more other teams have improved themselves heading into this year, which does not help with their stat if they're going to have a more difficult time on average. Yes, they signed Adam Fanua-Blake, but he's not coming until 2025. We're talking about this year. And this year, I am a little worried for the Sharks without their big addition. So I'm going to put them in 10th here, but really anything can happen this season, can it? Our final team missing the 8 in 9th is the Newcastle Knights. I can already hear the people clicking off this video for this prediction. And I know many will disagree with me in particular on this one, especially when you think of the teams that are in the top 8 now. It was a real toss-up between 8th and 9th in particular. These two positions were very close with two teams interchangeable between them. But I'm just barely going to go with the Knights to miss the 8. Because, well, yes, they were impressive at the end of the season where Ponga and the whole team went on this crazy run. I also view it as that, I view it as a crazy run. I don't think the Knights will repeat it in 2024. That's just my own opinion. I think that they'll do well, but I think they'll just fall short above who I barely put in 8th place. Also, Dominic Young leaving without any real massive replacement. That's a little concerning in my opinion. While Greg Marju is a great player, it was even better having both star wingers, And Dom Young, guys, such a big loss for Knights. I can't tell you how big I think that is. It's ridiculous. We'll see though. Maybe I am completely wrong. The first team to make the top 8 in 8th place, I have the North Queensland Cowboys. Almost put this team in 9th below the Knights, but what puts them above for me is I know how good this team can be, legends, alright? Like, last season, I view it as very much just a poor season, kind of like with my Eels. I think it was just a poor season for them overall. And, they had a lot of players coming back from international duty. Some results could have really gone their way, but didn't quite. And also they had some players on the decline, but I think that this is a bounce back season for them very much, and I think they've got a point to prove, and nothing is scarier in the NRL, or in sport in general, in my opinion, than a team with a point to prove. Don't forget, just like many of these teams that I've put in the top 8, this team is, when they're at their best, a team that can challenge the absolute top, so we'll have to wait and see. While yes, I think 9th and 8th are interchangeable, I'm pretty happy with my picks. In 7th, I've put the best team in the comp, the Parramatta Eels. Call it bias if you like, it is my team after all. There probably is unintentional bias, but I've seen Para bounce back from way worse than this in my time supporting them, legends. And with Dylan Brown back and having a whole season of that forward pack gelling, we honestly have one of the best forward packs around, legends. It's always when people expect it the least that we bounce back the highest. I understand you can argue what I said with the Sharks about the whole we haven't really recruited anyone massive, but I think Kelma Tuolungi is going to be great for us, honestly, legends. And if we can avoid having issues like what happened with Dylan Brown, I'm backing this team to hold their composure and make the 8. Remember, this is a team that at their best can outdo the three-peat Panthers. I'm really excited to see a potential bounce-back season in 2024. As anything outside a top 8 finish would be a letdown for me. In 6, I have the South Sydney Rabbitohs. That is right, legends. I reckon that the Bunnies are bouncing back like many people. Putting this in perspective, I would be predicting this if they didn't have Jack White, and I think that he just adds something else. The only reason that I don't have them in the top 4 is injuries. But even then, that might not impact them. They're still a great side, and I cannot wait to watch this team, just like many others, in 2024. This is, just like with Cowboys and Eels, a bounce-back season for the Bunnies. And with the news that this is Burgess's last season, that can only motivate them as well. New Zealand Warriors in 5th. Many will consider this a bit of a fall-off, but I still think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in 2024. They may be finishing lower, but that does not mean that I don't think they'll be playing much worse. I just think every team is getting better, and it's going to be highly competitive this year. Could easily see them slipping into that top 4, especially with the signings of Kurt Capewell and RTS, who I think are some of the best pickups in the entire NRL heading into this season. Many expect the Warriors to either drop off or stick exactly where they are. I'm going kind of in the middle here. I think that they'll stay right at the top, but they'll ever so slightly drop a little. They'll still be a formidable opponent though, and I'm very keen to see how they react to last season's surprising success in 2024. Just barely squeezing into the top 4 above the Warriors is the Melbourne Storm. To be honest, the only thing I think the Storm have really truly been missing in recent times was a proper actual second row forward that I considered quality, and that's what I think they've got with Sean Bloor here. Lots of potential still, and also has shown that he can do a class job even at a team not doing the best, so let's see what he can do at the Storm, right? I don't know how well Ryan Pappenhausen's going to do with injuries, but if he does do well, that's even better for their chances of making the top 4. But even if he doesn't, I think the Storm have still got it covered because Nick Meaney can do such a good job there. They've also got Suafalago, guys, or however you pronounce it. Both are absolutely players that can fill in that role. The Storm, guys, they're always a team with depth. Recently, they've put Harry Grant as their main captain, which from a Storm perspective is actually quite smart. I think Grant is, well, I don't know many teams that can say they went from Cameron Smith to Harry Grant. That's all I'm going to say about it. Overall, I'm just predicting another very solid year from the Storm. 3rd place I'll be given to the Sydney Roosters. And they could easily be top 2. Only reason they're not there is because I don't trust them. I put them top 2 last year, I think, and look what happened. They completely let me down. But I just can't not put them in the top 3 at least with how good that squad is. Far out, legends. How are you keeping that salary sombrero intact? Really, this team just looks so damn good on paper, from the bench to the starting lineup. And it is expected to be Joey Manu and Joseph Suolii's last season, so hopefully that's a little bit of motivation for the side. All that on top of the quality signings they have made makes me very confident that they will be in the top four, and me more than happy to have them in third place. In second place, it's last year's runners-up. It is the Brisbane Broncos. And look, I know, they've lost players. They 100% have lost some decent players. Thomas Flegler, Herbie Farnworth. But they've got some good young stars coming through, and I'm confident that they'll be able to cover for some of those positions pretty well. After last year's Nathan Cleary masterclass, there's two ways this team can react in 24. They can either completely crumble, which some are predicting, or they can do what I think and let it motivate them in 2024. I don't think they'll get the minor premiership, but they have a shot at the actual comp. In first place, I think you all saw this coming. First place, I have the Penrith Penny Panthers. Once again, doing one over the Bronx. This season is definitely the most likely season for them to drop out of first, but still for me, they are the best team in terms of depth, and as a side, they're still the best. Roosters arguably come close, and so do Broncos, but Panthers are just that level above right now. They're coming off a three-peat. They're the only team I've ever really seen where I think they could do more, but I'm not going to predict that. I think we'll have a new winner this season. But yeah, I'm predicting for them to be first place once again. And that's right. I have to tell you guys who I think will be winning the premiership as well. Well, I could be smart and go with a Broncos or a Panthers. But nah, we all know it's clearly going to be the Parramatta Eels, baby. Alright, legends, that was my predicted NRL 2024 ladder. Feel free to give your honest thoughts in the comments down below and let me know what you would change in yours. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't yet and made it all the way to the end here. I'll be honest, probably the Roosters or the Broncos are my prediction to win it. I'll go with Roosters. And consider checking out one of the other videos on screen.